Vincenzo, I think you're the expert on the other end today.
Oh, today, okay, not in general. No, I was curious, like, what is the coverage of mathematical notation? Like, can you cover very advanced material with very specific notation?
Yes, we go up through the PhD level to researchers. And yeah, in fact, let me share an example with you. If you look in the chat area, and you scroll down, you'll see INFTY Reader automatically converting a PNG math image.
Gotcha. I'll paste that into the chat again, so it just appears by itself.
Yeah, just the link.
There we go.
And let's see if I've got to scroll down. If you click on that, it'll give you an example of how the software works. I think that's a good example. It's only a 2-minute video, so I'll just stand by for a couple of minutes if you'd like to click on that link and watch it. I'm going to do that so I know when it's over.
It's worth doing. I did it before the talk.
Yes, I did too. Steve, I had a question. Has your company or other companies working in this field done any collaboration with the various mathematical societies, the American, Canadian, European, Australian, and so on? Because they're major producers of journals with heavy use of mathematics, but I've never particularly noticed whether they offer accessible versions.
I would say no. There's been no formal effort to sync up with those organizations. It's an opportunity, isn't it?
Exactly.
Now, we do have major publishers using the enterprise version of our software when they publish textbooks, because they are required by law to provide a digital copy of that book. And if they are so inclined, our software will enable them to create an accessible version of their document. But the reason most publishers shy away from publishing accessible versions is that the requirements that the PDF file be of very high quality makes the PDF file very large. And they just don't want to deal with, hundreds of megabytes size of a PDF file for a math book. They would rather publish it at a lower quality. They're meeting the eye of the law, but not the spirit of the law. So the cooperation is difficult with most publishers. But what you mentioned, working with the standards bodies, or the, I'm not sure who the organizations are that might drive things from the top down rather than the bottom up, Nelson.
Because it's not only the mathematical societies. You have major commercial publishers like Springer and Elsevier who publish probably tens of thousands of journals. And the way their journal production is often done is that author-submitted copy is sent off to contracting firms in Eastern Europe and India for lower cost labor in converting that to PDF and XML. And it would seem to me that this would be the ideal place to insert a little bit of extra markup that would be needed to disambiguate parts of the mathematics rather than trying to do it after the fact with OCR. But whether they could be forced into doing this or encouraged out of the goodness of their hearts to do so is, of course, a totally different question.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive area for publishers when you talk about accessibility, because there is a law that states if I buy a hard copy of a math book, by law, if I fit into the right category of being a person with a certain type of print disability, they have to, by law, provide me with a digital file of that book. And they are afraid that the student is going to copy it and give it to their friends and they're going to lose business. So they have fought against this. Not that they don't want to help. The issue isn't the person with a disability, is with security. So, and this has been going on for 10, 15 years. So it would be a slow process. And I'm getting so old, I don't have time for real slow processes. I want to get stuff done today. But that is a good idea. If you have anything more specific, or you know anyone in particular in a decision-making role that would want to experiment, I would love it.
Well, certainly within the tech community, we have a number of connections with the American and Canadian math societies that we might be able to look into it.
Yes.
It seemed to me that where this is probably most useful is in their highest volume journals. And so, for example, the communications of the ACM for the computer scientists, the notices of the American Math Society for mathematicians, Physics Today for the physicists, and so on. These would be good places to start pilot projects if the societies are willing.
Yeah, Springer has their own search engine that can search their documents. We're working with a search engine company. I should enter this into the chat area. Hang on, http:// This, in the chat area, this is a company that we have been working with for a few years, and they collect domains of math publications, and they enable you to search on them. One of the mainstream benefits of working with us is we could make it easier for a publisher or an author to create a document that is searchable by a search engine, whether that search engine uses MathML or LaTeX. But, you know, and they just added, I think, millions of ARXIV documents, research documents. So if you enter some LaTeX code into this search engine, it will find all of the documents that contain the snippet of the math equation or formula that you entered. Further, you can use text and math together, which can further narrow things down. This is a capability that the military service has, and we're talking with them, though we do not have a contract yet, but they acquire a lot of intelligence documents in many different languages. And a lot of it is print material, or they are digital documents that contain images of the math. and they can't search on that. So with a tool like ours, they could render the document completely into MathML or LaTeX and then search it. And that gives them a competitive advantage in being able to knowledge mine intelligence documents that way. This stuff gets really interesting, but I don't want to bore anybody on the call with it. We could talk about this offline, but it's a fascinating market out there.
I think